The two main macro themes for 2018, the maturing global cycle and gradual monetary tightening continuing. Both apply to an increasing number of countries. It's difficult to see 2018 being quite as benign as 2017 was. It's becoming harder to squeeze out growth, and rising inflation is more of a threat, so policy risk is increasing. So we think it'll be more challenging, but the outlook is still basically quite positive. Of course, there are always risks, but they don't seem particularly severe. I would put trade friction as top of the list. In the US, the cycle is already very mature. The low unemployment rate, down to 4%, is a good illustration of that. Tax cuts looking more likely, and that could add heat to the economy and also pressure the Fed to be more aggressive. We think they'll raise rates 3 times in 2018, but it could be more than that if tax cuts go through. We don't see much of an impact, though, from the change in Fed leadership. Europe's seeing the best growth in a decade, but that's still only the pace of a typical year in America. Some of the positive factors are fading, but structural reforms still supporting growth. Of course, there are always political risks. Italy's next on the agenda, but we don't see a big problem. Like the Fed, ECB will tighten very slowly through 2018 with tapering, maybe raise interest rates in mid-2019. In Japan, the cycle may be more mature even than in America, but there's still no inflation. Clearly, it takes a lot to change behavior after 2 decades of deflation. So the Bank of Japan will be patient. We think they'll be the last to tighten policy. Plenty to worry about in China because of the growing credit bubble, but we don't see any trigger for a problem. Maybe a slight slowdown as they cut wasteful lending. Of course, the other risk there is trade friction with America, because China accounts for half of America's trade deficit. Emerging markets mainly look solid. They're at an earlier part of the cycle, and Southeast Asia particularly continues to benefit from economic reform. We can see various countries moving up in the competitiveness rankings. That's making them more attractive for investment, and of course that helps growth. So overall, we don't see too many hazards. Sure, the cycle is maturing, policy is gradually tightening, but the next recession still seems to be over the horizon.